Take you to a gay bar. I wanna take you to a gay bar. I wanna take you to a gay bar, gay bar, gay bar. Let's start a war. Start a nuclear war.
Welcome to episode 4 of, I think my now titled podcast. I think we're going to go with Sports and Bullshit, because that's really what it is. So, for my 4th episode here, I have Josh sitting in with me again. Hello,
How you guys
Josh.
doing? What's up, Dan? Got
him back. And introducing my friend Taylor Micah, a guy who's become a very, very good friend of mine in the last 3 years or so. And he's going to be sitting in with us. Why don't you introduce yourself, Taylor?
What's going on, guys? Name's Taylor. Avid Broncos fan. Kind of like the Phillies, even though they're awful.
Boom.
And I'm a huge Nets fan, even when they were in New Jersey. And now they're awful in Brooklyn. So that's about it.
All right, well, thanks for coming in, Taylor. I know that you must be really excited about this weekend and the win yesterday, or Sunday.
It was unbelievable.
So this week we're going to talk about Wild Card Weekend. A couple things first. Ken Wisenhunt hired as the Titans head coach. I think it's an awesome signing for them as a head coach. Guy who has made it to a Super Bowl. Failed in Arizona mostly because of Kevin Cobb, but I think he's an awesome hire. And the Lions, they lost out on Wisenhunt, but they got Jim Caldwell, who... He, had a bad ending in Indianapolis, but that's because Polian and Dungy didn't construct much of a team behind Peyton Manning. I think he's the right opposite of what Jim Schwartz was. He's someone that players seem to really like, and he's going to bring some toughness and also a lot of class and decency to a team that is a little wild and out of control.
Hopefully it'll help him or teach him how to smile, too.
Yeah, Caldwell, he has no emotion. He's got the same reaction for everything, but biggest thing is apparently Matthew Stafford sat in on the interview process, and Stafford was impressed, and you want to have your franchise quarterback enjoy that.
The biggest thing that I like about that hire, actually, is Jim Caldwell, if anything, when he was with the Colts, he ran a tight ship, a very disciplined team, and I think that with that defense, with some of those players on that side of the ball, that act the way that they do, specifically Ndamukong Suh, you need somebody that's going to keep those guys in check.
And that's a great point. Other things we're going to go over is the Anthony Bosch 60 Minutes interview Sunday night about A-Rod. I have a lot of feelings on that, and for those of you that didn't hear it, I'll go over the main talking points. I don't think either of you saw it. But, talk about the UFC tomorrow night a little bit that I only found out about 2 days ago. Golden Globes, I don't know if anyone watched them Sunday night.
No.
Jennifer Lawrence won, that's all I care
Jennifer
about.
Lawrence won, Leo won for Wolf.
Finally.
He still needs to win an Oscar. And he won for Best Actor in a Comedy, not a Drama, which Matthew McConaughey won, which he's supposed to be awesome in Dallas Buyers Club. Now, the other thing I want to give a shout out to is our friend Khalid's new blog that he's doing that is dedicated to the Chelsea Football Club, and there's going to be a lot of just general soccer discussion. That's theprideoflondon.com. So if you guys can go check that out, if you're a soccer fan, if you know people that are soccer fans, give it a share. I'd appreciate that. And then shout out to my friend Bran. He runs Mariner blog. He's the biggest person for Mariners I know. And he's a big fan of, I think, Jay Buhner and Ichiro.
Just want to comment on Khaled's blog. If you're an avid fan about anything Chelsea, anything EPL, La Liga, anything whatsoever about European soccer, check that out. He's an avid Chelsea fan. There's nothing he will not find out that you will not also find out. So definitely give that a look.
Taylor, you seem to really be into soccer. Is that true?
Yes, that is.
Was it hard telling your parents that you're gay?
Yes, it was.
How did they handle it?
It wasn't
I don't care. All right, so
God damn it.
First thing I'm going to get into, going over the games this past weekend, was a Seahawks-Saints game. Really a game I thought the Saints had a really good shot at winning. They were in it the whole time. Rob Ryan had that defense ready to go. Russell Wilson only completed 9 passes. Granted, the conditions were very tough because Breeze didn't have a great game either. Very poor special teams play by the Saints. I know Shane Graham only got signed December 30th, I think.
Not even.
And he made every field goal before then. Not easy conditions to kick in, being the weather and the atmosphere being a huge playoff game. But while the Saints were in it, Mark Ingram had a very costly fumble that cost them. Kyrie Robinson was running incredibly throughout the game, but there were other things. Jimmy Graham was invisible. Earl Thomas destroyed him. I don't know if you noticed the job Earl Thomas was doing on him. He dominated him.
One of the all-time great performances in a playoff game by a defensive back for sure. You look at Jimmy Graham; he's one of the premier not only tight ends but receivers in the league.
Now,
to be held in check like that.
The one thing I'll say, I didn't like Sean Payton's game plan. He there were so many third down and fourth down situations where he was taking the ball out of Drew Brees' hands and running it. You have one of the all-time great quarterbacks, one of the 5 best quarterbacks in this league, and you're running it on third and fourth down, and those fourth down conversions they failed on were crucial.
I don't know. It just didn't make any sense to me the way Sean Payton went into that game. But before, I also want to give a big shout out to Cam Chancellor, who led the team in tackles that game.
Chancellor had a huge game.
And it was absolutely unbelievable. Like I said, made Jimmy Graham non-existent that entire game.
Absolutely.
And that entire secondary just shut down that passing
They paid attention to him. And the Saints did make it interesting late when it looked like it was a blowout. Marshawn Lynch had a huge touchdown run to put him up 23-8. And frankly, he probably should have taken a knee because then there would have been a 2-minute warning and drained the clock out. But Drew Brees did what he did. He got a Kenny Stills touchdown with about 26 seconds left. And then the onside kick, which, how many times you see onside kicks get recovered? We saw 2 this weekend.
Yeah, it was incredible.
But what happened on the next drive? Jimmy Graham gets his first catch for about 8 or 9 yards, and then he hits Marquez Colston on the sideline, and Colston got destroyed by me, the media, both of you, but it was a design play apparently, which would only add to the fact that Sean Payton did not coach a good game. Rob Ryan came prepared. Sean Payton had his guys motivated. They didn't get rolled over. They didn't make mental mistakes, but he made mistakes in coaching and calling a hook and ladder play, or something, but calling a lateral and. Once again, he took the ball out of his quarterback's hands. Get a Hail Mary. Get a bad call at the 1-yard line. That's why the refs are there, to make bad calls. At least it's what it seems like now.
Yeah. I was going to say, at least give Drew Brees, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, a chance to at least throw it towards the end zone.
That's what I was thinking as well. So Sean Payton did not have a great game. Pete Carroll didn't coach a great offensive game either. The running game worked the whole day because Marshawn Lynch is a beast, but the conditions had a lot to do with both quarterbacks throw, and I know Drew Brees was wearing the gloves, which he never does, but you saw the second half Brees really picked it up. But, in the first half, they held Brees to 50 yards passing. The first time since 2006 he was held to less than 50 yards. So they did a great job taking advantage of him not being comfortable with the elements, and once again, that incredible home field advantage, which, I don't know if you saw, they triggered another earthquake on that Marshawn Lynch that was bigger than the Beast Mode run, apparently.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, I know. That's the things we care about now. But I don't know if you have any other take on it, being a guy that's a fan of a team in the division.
All I'm going to really say is this, going back to talking about Sean Payton and his game plan, it blows my mind how you're not going to put the ball in the hands of Drew Brees.
And that's what it comes back to.
If you look at this now, one credit to Drew Brees and how good he is. We'll talk about that touchdown pass that he threw to Kenny Stills. Who's Kenny Stills?
I mean, Kenny Stills had a nice year. I got to give him credit, but that's what Brees does. He makes these players that you don't really expect. That's what these great quarterbacks do. I mean, who was Pierre Garçon and Austin Collie before Peyton Manning? Who was Jacob Tamme before Peyton Manning?
No one.
Exactly.
Shut up.
So, it's tough. I know everyone was getting on Colston. A guy I like, Terry Bradshaw, was ripping him, but it was a design play. It wasn't, Peyton shouldn't have done that. He saw that his guy, there would have been time to get his guy there. Brees probably knew the situation, so it was obviously going to sideline to sideline. I couldn't believe when I saw him do it. And it wasn't even a good throw, but it was better than most Geno Smith throws. So
that'll happen.
We'll get on to the next game, the Colts and the Patriots. Patriots won by a score of 43-22, which the game really was a lot closer than the score indicates. It really only became a blowout towards the end of the game. Early on, Andrew Luck had that horrible interception on the first series where he just looked his guy down on third, had eyes on his guy the whole time, and got picked off. Looked like a pick six at first, but it led to LeGarrette Blount touchdown, which seemed to be the story of the day.
LeGarrette Blount was on fire.
Yeah, he had 4 touchdowns in the game. But, they went up 14-0, the Patriots. Luck connected with Brazil to bring it within 7. And for a while there, you really thought that Andrew Luck was going to do it again. I mean, I don't think anyone was thinking, the Colts are out of it. As long as they were within 10, 14 even, you were like, Andrew Luck's got this. And it was, 20, 29, 22?
It was 20-22 at one point.
And that was late, it was early in the fourth or late in the third.
Going into the fourth quarter, it was 22-29 with the Colts driving in the Patriots territory.
Exactly. And then it all fell apart. The Colts got Andrew Luck got picked off in their own territory, which led to another, Bethea almost picked Tom Brady off in the end zone. Antoine Bethea. And dropped it. And you can't do that with Tom Brady. He makes a mistake, and you don't capitalize on it, he's not going to make the same mistake twice.
Absolutely.
Like you saw, unfortunately, Andrew Luck do. But he's in that kind of situation where he thinks he has to make a play every down because his team is not that great. You know, T.Y. Hilton is awesome, but he's really their only guy. I know Brazil had 2 touchdowns, but it's T.Y. Hilton.
But before today's game, have you ever heard of Brazil?
No, and that's
Honestly.
great quarterbacks make no-name players better.
Exactly. And I also want to point out that, what is this, Andrew Luck's second year in the league?
Second year in the league,
Second
he
year in
already
the
won. He already won a playoff game.
He's already won a playoff game.
Been there twice.
He's been there twice already, and he's making great plays, and he's throwing to average players, making them look better than they actually are. The big thing I want to go over is Donald Brown. Donald Brown was an okay running back, your average running back.
Not a first-round pick, though, the way he played until this year.
No shot. And he's really shown up.
And, you know, this big story of the game was Brady had no touchdowns, but the Patriots were 11 for 18 on third down, and that is a recipe for winning, as well as winning the turnover battle. They had 4 turnovers on Andrew Luck, but 6 rushing touchdowns, 4 from Blunt, 2 from Ridley. Belichick, he's a master game planner. He is the best coach in the league, despite what anyone says. I know he hasn't won since Spygate or whatever.
That doesn't mean anything.
But, I mean, he's in there every year. Here's a fun stat. Brady's been in the league for 12 seasons now. Mm-hmm. This is his 7th AFC championship game. That's 8th. More than 8th? It's more than half the times half the years he's been in the league, he's been in an AFC championship.
He's played half of a full season in the AFC championship
Think
game.
about that. That's incredible. So credit to the Patriots. The Colts are going to be around for a long, long time, as long as Luck stays healthy, and if they get him some help around him outside of T.Y. Hilton and Colby Fleener.
I'll tell you right now, they're about 2-3 decent moves away. 2-3 decent moves away from being a legitimate contender.
And they definitely got to improve that defense as well.
100%. Robert Mathis is going to be there forever.
They did a good job. The running game, the Patriots kept running the ball, but they didn't really get those big rushing yards until that 54-yard Blunt touchdown, which, man, he runs fast for a guy his size.
Not bad for 6 foot.
Yeah, 6 foot, and he's 250.
You just don't want to get in his face because he
might
you saw
he clocked that white boy in the face at Boise.
Hey, quick credit to Bill Belichick here. You just talk about the Colts and the way that they won their game last week. I know we talked about our picks last week, and I picked the Patriots, and I gave my reasons for picking the Patriots. The type of coach that Bill Belichick is, the way that he runs his defense, you don't make the mistakes that you made in that game against Kansas City last week, even though you came back to win. You don't make those mistakes and then expect the following week Bill Belichick to not capitalize on those mistakes that he's seen you make.
And as I said last week also, Belichick would not blow a 38-10 lead. And the one thing that Belichick is a master of, he has 2 different game plans in a game. One game plan for the first half, a completely different game plan for the second half. So credit to them. So they move on to the next round, which would be your Broncos, but we'll get to that in a bit. Mm-hmm. So next game was the other NFC divisional game, was the Panthers and 49ers. Really a close game in the first half, a big defensive struggle, much like the first game. The 49ers were without Carlos Rogers on the defensive side, but it didn't make a ton of a difference besides one big play to Steve Smith, which put the Panthers up in the first half. They ended up getting another field goal that put them up 10-6, but slowly but surely, you notice the 49ers started to pick things up. The pass rush was going all day for them. The Panthers couldn't get a running game going. They had the Panthers had some really nice play calling on drives, but biggest thing that hurt them was they 3 times in the red zone couldn't get a touchdown, including those 2 fourth downs on the 1 yard line, or the 1 4th down and the other one where they couldn't punch it on a 3rd and 1. And I liked Ron Rivera's call to go for it on 4th and 1. Cam Newton's converted on those how many times in his career?
It's too many. And
he's that size, but Ahmad Brooks made a great play, tackled him right in the line. He tried to make an even greater play later in the game, and he jumped the line 4 seconds before it was hiked. Yep. But big thing that hurt the Panthers was the dumb penalties. They had you could tell, a young team, they're emotional, they were making some very questionable penalties.
They're doing nothing but just shooting themselves in the foot the entire game.
You can't do that with a team like the 49ers, who they're battle-tested now. They've been in there the last 2 years. They know what they're doing. And the Panthers missed opportunities too. They dropped a surefire pick 6 after that 4th and 1 conversion failure. And one of my favorite parts of the game was that Jim Harbaugh freak out when Kaepernick threw the touchdown to Vernon Davis, and they said no touchdown. Harbaugh comes sprinting up the sidelines, and he's screaming and got his team a 15-yard penalty. People hate the guy. I like his passion personally. I think most teams would kill to have that on their team, but it's something that you love to have. You hate it when it's on the other sideline.
I was going to say, because even though I played, the only experience I had playing football was in high school, but if you're a player and you have a coach with that same mentality and that same passion as you do,
You take on your coach's personality.
You're willing to do whatever it takes,
Run
just
through
like he is. So
Yep.
that's what I believe he's instilled in San Francisco, and it's been nothing but great results ever since.
Exactly. And to open up the second half, the 49ers had a very long opening drive. Anquan Boldin was chippy all game, and he was torturing up the middle, which is once again the Crabtree effect. Having him the opposite side, you cannot bracket a guy like Anquan Boldin, and you can't put him in single coverage because he's not fast, but he gets open. And when he gets open, he's going to hurt you, and he's going to get in your face, and he likes getting under people's skin. So Kaepernick had a very good game, very efficient. I mean, his release when he throws a ball is ridiculous. How quick it comes out of his hands.
Second only to Tony Romo, in my opinion.
I think Romo's better at evading in the pocket, but I'm talking about just pure velocity out of the hands. Kaepernick is ridiculous. I mean, guy was a pitcher. He threw over 95 miles per hour.
And I'm going to be honest, going into the season, I thought Kaepernick was a gimmick. I thought he wasn't going to be nearly
A lot
as
of
good.
people did.
Just because he happened to be hot going into the playoffs and the Super Bowl last year.
Can't deny him now.
I'm going to tell you right now, he's definitely proved himself that he belongs in this league as a runner and a passer.
Yeah, and I mean, he's already, fourth all time for quarterbacks in rushing in the postseason, and he's only had 5 games.
5 games.
And that's wild. So the 49ers ended up winning. It was 23-10 was the final score. Much closer game than the score indicates again. Panthers, they're going to be in it for a while. They have a lot of nice young players. They do need a weapon opposite Steve Smith. That's hurting them.
I was going to say because Steve Smith is getting old. He's hitting his mid-30s, so they got to look into getting something outside of Dominique Hickson to actually complement.
And Ted Ginn.
Because
Ted Ginn's too inconsistent. But they have Greg Olsen, a great piece. Jersey boy Greg Olsen. But
he is a douche.
That's right. So, 49ers move on to their third straight NFC Championship game to face the Seattle Seahawks, which we'll get to our predictions. The next game, one that, Taylor, you are very emotionally invested in. Your Broncos winning 24-17, which...
gray hair.
Honestly, it's a game that it shouldn't be that close, but it ended up being. And part of the reason could be because of the Chris Harris injury. That's when Keenan Allen really started to go off. But more so, I think the Chargers opened up the playbook a bit more. They were keeping Keenan Allen on one side a lot early, and then they were moving him around. Very smart. Quentin Jammer got abused.
Got destroyed.
He got destroyed, and he's a guy, he's older, and he doesn't play as much. But the game was really dominated and controlled early on. It was 14-0 after Demaryius Thomas and Wes Welker passes. And it should have been 21-0, but the Chargers, to their credit, made a nice play to pick it off in the end zone. And the Chargers, to their credit, they came back. The biggest thing that they didn't have, though, no pass rush. Something that they got in Peyton's face a lot the last time they played.
Yeah, they did. They got in his face a lot. The one thing, again, I hate the Chargers because they're my mortal enemies, and not to mention they're a division rival. I want to give a lot of credit to Mike McCoy because, one, he did a fantastic job last year with Peyton's first year back, and two, for actually taking a Chargers team that was okay
and made them competitive.
And made
tough
them
and competitive.
A playoff
and
team.
Not even just Peyton last year. Tebow the year before. He installed that offense where Tebow's weaknesses couldn't be exposed on a consistent basis. Mm-hmm. But the biggest things that you noticed in this game that I thought was awesome, the Omaha count. Omaha. He got the Chargers to jump in the neutral zone 5 times. That's unheard of. And it made all the difference once again. But, it was 24-7 later in the game, but Rivers just started to pick him apart. And I know you don't like Phil Rivers. I know you hate the guy, but he is a quality quarterback.
I will say this, that he's very emotionally
and I like that.
And he's so into it that I can't help but respect the guy for being so invested into what he does.
He's a great leader.
But I will say that the Chris Harris injury is absolutely devastating going into the next week.
We'll get to.
But my whole point is that he leaves, Quentin Jammer gets destroyed, and then Keenan Allen goes off.
And that's a big thing. The Chargers took advantage of the injury, which you see so often, and they did the right thing. Now they got an onside kickback, they got another touchdown. The Chargers, but they scored again, field goal, but they couldn't stop Peyton again.
Yeah. And what I want to say is too that I gave you shit one time because you told me John Fox is really, really conservative, and I told you he wasn't. That no matter what, he's not a conservative coach, not for whatever reason. I gave you so much shit for it. And I saw it come to fruition in that game. And when they were up 24-7, I think, at one point, and next thing I know, they come back, they get an onside kickback, Keenan Allen scores a touchdown.
The Chargers played a really good defensive game, but the play calling was very conservative, but it was an efficient game plan. So I thought he was more conservative last year in the Ravens loss. Incredibly conservative, taking a knee with Peyton, but he's a defensive coach and they usually are. And he was a little conservative in this game, and it almost hurt him. But what does Peyton Manning consistently do? He makes plays. And that 3rd and 17 pass, you saw that pass, Josh,
absolutely,
to Julius Thomas on the sidelines that went for 21. I thought the ball was going out of bounds at first.
I thought it was going out of bounds. And
I was literally sitting there holding my head like, oh no. I didn't want to see the Chargers win because I'm sick of the Peyton hate, the whole postseason hate. But he made the play, and ultimately that was it. And it was a beautiful pass, even better catch, keeping both feet in bound by Julius Thomas.
We actually got very lucky. That was actually a very busted coverage by the Chargers.
Oh yeah.
Extremely busted, but not to mention, thank God for Julius Thomas being 6'5". Thank you for showing up this season.
Who wouldn't have caught that though? Jacob Tamme.
Jacob Tamme totally would have caught that.
Yeah,
Jacob Tamme would have scored.
Just a little background on this Jacob Tamme thing. Taylor here tried telling me that Jacob Tamme was a great tight end. Hey,
he's a great tight end.
I like Jacob
backup.
Tamme.
Backup.
I like Jacob Tamme. He's a backup.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you right now, Jacob Tamme was in the game, he would have scored.
No, shut up.
No,
he's white.
not.
He doesn't do that. So, biggest thing, though, in this game, the Broncos, 9 for 13 on 3rd down again, just like the Patriots game. It's all about 3rd down conversions. There were no turnovers besides the one Peyton interception.
Yeah, that was about... No, there was... Julius Thomas did fumble.
Oh, that's right. I thought it was a bad call, but...
It was an awful call because he didn't make a football move in order for it to be considered a fumble, but...
It wasn't enough evidence to overturn it.
Exactly.
It was called a fumble at first, but 2 turnovers, you win. Doesn't happen often, but they converted 3rd downs consistently, and the offensive line specifically for the Broncos was incredible. Peyton didn't get touched.
No.
He did not get touched.
I also do want to say I want to big up to the Noshawn Moreno for showing up this season, and
not
2
fumbling it.
for not fumbling. Big thing.
Hey, he had a great year.
I want to give a big up to Noshawn Moreno for getting me as far into my fantasy playoffs as he could.
And Billy, who'd you lose to?
I lost to the gentleman on my left here, Mr. Perozzi, unfortunately. But as we all know, that is solely Calvin Johnson's fault, and I'm coming for you.
Coming for you, nigga. All right, so
Booker T's pissed.
So now we have the Broncos, Patriots, and the Seahawks and 49ers. Biggest thing, the most common thing throughout these playoffs, despite all these great quarterbacks, is the running on the ball. I haven't seen it, besides luck in that Kansas City game, there hasn't been a passing performance that really wowed you. The teams that are winning are averaging, I think, over 130 yards rushing per game. And that's what it's all about. I mean, people want to say, oh, it's a quarterback league, and it is. It definitely is. I think drafting a running back early isn't worth it as much as it used to be. But they're running the ball with power and consistently. And that's the big thing.
And this is something I also did. Like I've talked to you about it multiple times. That's my personal type of. That's my favorite type of football.
Physical football.
Just putting your shoulder down and finishing runs.
Exactly.
And that was a prime example this weekend because
Eric Blunt, Marshawn Lynch, Noshawn Moreno had a good game. So did Monte Ball. And on the other team, the 49ers, Frank Gore, and Kendall Hunter too. Kendall Hunter. So it's going to be interesting to see if that trend continues as we get to crunch time, where closer games are going to rely more on quarterback play. So we'll get to our predictions now. First game, we'll go to the NFC. We have the San Francisco 49ers meeting the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. Really, Seattle has dominated San Fran the last 2 times they played in Seattle. The first time they met this season, the 49ers did not have Michael Crabtree. But biggest thing, those last 2 meetings, San Francisco has had, Kaepernick specifically, 7 turnovers in those last 2 meetings in Seattle. But having Crabtree back is a big deal. I can't stress that enough. When you take a guy that has great hands, speed, and is a physical route runner, that makes a big difference to how a defense is going to play him. Will it be enough? So, what do you think, Taylor? What is your call for this game? If you have a score idea, let's hear it.
I honestly don't have a score, but I'm gonna pick an upset. I'm gonna pick San Francisco to go into Seattle and win in the NFC title game, and it's probably gonna be by less than 4 points.
And the spread is about 4 points as well. So
I'm thinking it's gonna be a last-second field goal type of deal.
Cool, Josh. What do you think?
I'm gonna side with Taylor here. I'm gonna pick the 49ers as well. I think that they're gonna go into Seattle. They're gonna surprise people. This offense is clicking right now. They've got they've got Crabtree back. Bolden's playing the best football that I've seen him play in a couple of years.
It's true. He had a great
you got Vernon Davis. You got Frank Gore. I think that Colin Kaepernick's going to go out there and he's going to prove his Beats commercial right as to why he's the man.
Why he's the man.
And the 49ers are going to win the game.
Handily or close?
Oh, close. It's going to be a close game. This is a divisional game. This is a rivalry game, big-time rivalry. These guys don't like each other. It's going to be close. It's going to be smash-mouth football, but it's going to be a good game.
Okay, so now my opinion. I agree with what both of you said. I think that the 49ers have a lot to prove. They have a ton of experience. That's a big thing. And the Seahawks could come in a little cocky now. Oh, we smashed these guys twice here in the last 2 times. We've handled Kaepernick. And every time they played in San Fran, it was close. I'm going to take Seattle. I'm emotionally invested in the 49ers. My dad was a huge 49ers fan. I always root for them. I'll most likely be rooting for them here as well. But I think that Seattle does a lot of things well at home that match up well with the 49ers, specifically being physical. And the 49ers are a physical team. And when you're on the road at a place like Seattle, being physical always favors the home team because you can't communicate with your guys as well. It's just that much harder, especially on offense. Your offensive line, if you have to go on silent counts the whole game, that changes the running lanes that are going to open a little bit more. And I think that the Seahawks are going to change things up. I think Russell Wilson's going to have a huge game. I think Marshawn Lynch will be contained for the most part. But I think Russell Wilson will have a really big game. I think the Seahawks defense will come up big again. But make no mistakes, Pete Carroll has not been good in his last 2 playoff games. The one last week, his offensive play calling, and last year against the Falcons, as a Falcons fan, the Seahawks had that chance to win that game, and Pete Carroll had some terrible coaching decisions. So he has to prove himself here. Make no mistakes, I know Seahawks fans specifically, do not like Jim Harbaugh, but he knows how to get there, and this is his 3rd straight NFC championship. It would be his 2nd straight Super Bowl. His guys are not going to be unprepared, and I agree, it will come down to the wire, but I think the Seahawks will end up winning by a score of about 27-23.
What I want to say is real quick, just before we move on, is that I have X factors for both teams. As far as who I think is going to make a big difference in the game. For the 49ers, I really think their chances of winning really, hang on the balance of how good Frank Gore does and how good that offensive line.
It's a huge part of it.
Pushes back that Seattle defensive line and gets to the second level, because we all know Frank Gore can finish runs.
Yeah,
but it's just we have to see.
And they've contained him the last few times. If Frank Gore can't get going, if he can't average more than 4 yards per carry or even 3.5 yards per carry, then they have no chance, because Kaepernick is rarely going to win a game like this with just his arm, and you know that they have the linebackers and the ends to contain him on options and broken plays.
Which leads me into my next, is that my X factor for Seattle is actually going to be the defensive play of Cliff Averill.
That's a huge part of it.
I want to see how Cliff Averill will respond in this type of situation. He got paid big money. He's playing on a really good team,
and he's
right
a pure pass rusher. He's got to set the edge better.
Exactly.
And you make a great point between him, Michael Bennett, Tony McDaniel. That line has to contain, and they have to set the edge, and they have to keep at it. So with that, Taylor, 49ers, Josh, 49ers, me, Seahawks, and we all agree it's going to be a pretty close game. So next game, Taylor, Patriots, Broncos. Big thing that's going in Peyton's favor here is he has never lost to the same team twice in one season. And the last time they played the Patriots in the playoffs, who won that?
We did.
The Colts. Peyton Manning won in 2006. And it's definitely the type of game where it's made for Peyton. I know a lot of people think he can't play in the cold. It's supposed to be 50 degrees and sunny in Denver on Sunday. And that's huge. High. That is huge. 50 degrees where he can air it out into that thin air. So let's hear it. What do you think, Taylor? What do you think, Taylor? Being the Broncos fan, and you obviously have a bias, but I know that you're very much a realist as well.
Well, again, and I talked to Josh about it earlier today. I'm not happy about playing the Patriots. I'm not happy about playing them even in the slightest, because I don't care what anybody says. Tom Brady's probably the second best, if not the best, postseason quarterback of all time, just up there with Joe Montana.
Terry Bradshaw.
And he's drunk. Well, my whole thing is that Denver has to really control the offense. Then again, Brady has no one to throw to. If you think about it, they have three slot receivers as their main receivers. Gronkowski's out. Last time Gronkowski played the Broncos, torched them for 5 catches, 90 yards, and a touchdown.
That's
but
huge.
Then also, if you look at it on the defensive side of the ball for the Patriots, it's going to hinge on how good Dante Hightower and Chandler Jones plays.
Chandler Jones has to get to the quarterback.
He has to get to the quarterback, especially with no Vince Wilfork.
They're going to send Rob Ninkovich a lot too. Don't sleep on that. Ninkovich, they're going to send him a lot the middle.
That guy's no joke.
He's
really good.
They're using him well.
But also, one of my big things is that, again, the Chris Harris injury is huge. I think because he was the best defensive player we had on the field this season.
By Pro Football Focus, the 9th best corner in the league this year, ahead of Aqib Talib and ahead of Patrick Peterson.
And didn't both get selected to the Pro Bowl this year, too?
They both did.
See, there we go right there. So go ahead. There we go.
But But the thing is Amendola and Edelman as good as Keenan Allen? Edelman had a great season. Got to give him credit, stepping in for Wes Welker. But no, he's not the game breaker like Allen is.
I got to say, again, Edelman being Tom Brady's number one all season with Kenbrell Tompkins and
Aaron Dobson.
Aaron Dobson being okay for rookies.
Yeah, undrafted rookies.
Undrafted rookies. But again, it all comes down to the defensive play of Denver and how easily they can contain that rushing attack. Because I don't care what you say, LeGarrette Blount and Stephen Ridley are the hottest running back tandem.
Don't sleep on Vereen either. They use Vereen in the passing game out of the backfield. And when you don't have a great linebacking core, especially missing Von Miller, a running back out of the backfield is terrifying. And Ronnie Brown had opportunities. He's just not as fast as a guy like Ryan Matthews.
Exactly.
So
when it comes down to it, my pick is going to be for Denver.
Naturally.
I'm gonna go Denver. Denver's going to win by 1 touchdown.
So you're giving them 7 points?
I'm going to give them 7 points.
I like it.
It's going to be a high scoring game though, because I feel like Denver's defense can't contain any of the offense, and I'll be honest when I say that. So
okay,
I'm in the mid to high 30s.
Okay, I like it. Josh?
To me, this comes down to a number of factors. You got Peyton Manning, the greatest regular season quarterback I've ever seen. Tom Brady, the greatest postseason quarterback I've ever seen. You look at the AFC title record between these two guys. Peyton 2-1, Tom Brady 5-2. That's huge.
That is huge. But of those 5-2, how many guys besides Brady have been on those AFC teams?
That's a good point. I can't name anybody, to be quite honest with you. Maybe Logan Mankins.
That's really, when you think about it, that's about it.
But
and Belichick.
Also you look at a number of factors. Patriots, injuries all over the offense. Broncos, injuries all over the defense. I think it's going to be a closer game than anyone would think.
It's about I think Denver's favored by about 3.5 right now.
I think that. I think it's going to be a close one. It's a hard one for me to pick. But for me, the way that I got to pick it is I'm going to pick it with playoff experience, winning experience. I'm going to say that the 49ers, they're going to, in my opinion, win 3 straight, or be in 3 straight NFC Championship games, win their second. Patriots, this is also their 3rd straight AFC Championship game.
Absolutely.
I believe they'll win this one. We're going to see the 49ers and the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go with the guy that has never lost to the same team twice in the playoffs. I'm going to go with Peyton Manning. And the reason I think so is for reasons that both of you mentioned. The Patriots are beat up on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. The Broncos obviously beat up on more the defensive side. But the thing that's been getting the Patriots going these last few weeks is running the ball. You saw the last game of the season, the game against the Ravens and then the Bills, LeGarrette Blount, Ridley, Vereen all went off. And they were facing running defenses that were no worse than 19th in the league against the run, and they progressively got worse. It was 19th for the Ravens, 22nd for the Bills, and then like 26th for the Colts. Broncos are the 9th-ranked rushing defense in the league. Not a great passing defense, but who's the big body receiver that's going to hurt the Broncos? I don't care. No one. And they don't have a game breaker on the outside. I know Edelman's fast, Amendola's fast, but they're not guys that are going to catch it and then take it to the house minus terribly blown coverage.
I mean, it's cool if you nickel and dime us down the field, but once we get at least 1 or 2 stops on you, I'm telling you right now, Nate Irving, Danny Trevathan, and especially Wesley Ward,
Ayers too, yeah.
Robert Ayers,
and I think that's what it comes down to. If the Patriots can run for over 150 yards, they're probably going to win this game.
And I'm not going to tell you that's not wrong.
And if they hold them under 150, the Broncos are going to win this game. If they hold them under 100, I don't even think it's going to be that close until the very end. I think it's going to be one of those things where Brady starts making a comeback. So ultimately, I think that Peyton's going to have a huge game. I think he's going to dissect that defense. Who's Talib going to cover? Would you want Talib covering Demaryius Thomas?
If I was Belichick, I would put Talib on Demaryius Thomas.
Well, okay, but who's going to cover Eric Decker? Who's going to cover Wes Welker? And who's going to cover Julius Thomas?
That's what I was going to get to, is that you can't cover all these guys at
exactly.
once.
And I think that you'll see a heavy dose of screens as well to take advantage of the linebacking core of the Patriots.
Not nearly.
You're going to see to offset the pass rush of the Patriots. You're going to see a lot of screens like you saw this past week, and you see a lot of draw type plays. And obviously, you're going to watch Peyton's snap counts and how he changes at the line, which is always incredible to watch. Mm-hmm. But I think the fact that Talib is really the only player that can eliminate another guy is going to make the difference. And Talib didn't even have that great of a game against T.Y. Hilton. And Demarius Thomas and Eric Decker and Wes Welker and Julius Thomas are much bigger game breakers than T.Y. Hilton at this point.
And Wes Welker's helmet is fucking stupid.
And his helmet, yeah, he looks like Toad
from Mario Kart.
Exactly. So we got 2 going for the Broncos, 1 for the Patriots. And ultimately, I think the score of that Broncos game, I got the Broncos winning by 32-28. I think that's fair.
That seems fair, yeah.
So, next, we're good there. We got our picks in. There is a UFC fight night tomorrow. I know you guys probably won't be watching it. You're not hardcore about it like I am. Honestly, I didn't even know there was one until like 2 days ago. So I was talking to my buddy Hector Castro, who's sponsoring 3 of the fighters on there, and he said that he forgot he had guys fighting this week too. So the main event is the only one that I'm really going to talk about is Luke Rockhold and some Greek peasant. His last name's Philippou. I don't know how to say his first name.
Peasant?
Yeah, he's a Greek peasant. His actually a really good fight in the middleweight division. Rockhold's coming off that devastating knockout. He got knocked out by Vitor Belfort with a spinning wheel kick in Brazil. Yeah, so he's looking to bounce back. Philippou's been on a bit of a roll lately. I think Rockhold's a little too much diverse for him. It's on free TV. You guys want to check some of that tomorrow night? Should be a really good fight card, ultimately. Ric Flair might be there, apparently. He's been hanging out with my old coach, Mike Constantino. Said that Ric Flair's quite entertaining when you get a few in him, which I don't think anyone's surprised by.
He's entertaining when you don't have any in him.
It's true. But when doesn't he have one? Exactly.
Well, I mean, let's be real. I don't know.
Okay, so talking about Ric Flair, we'll go right into a little bit of WWE talk. Yesterday, they announced the first inductee to the WWE Hall of Fame this year, The Ultimate Warrior. Long overdue. He's not the best person. He wasn't a great wrestler. But, man, his promos, he had so much excitement. He was electric. So, definitely I'm excited about this. What do you guys think?
I'm excited about it for sure. Ultimate Warrior, one of my all-time favorites. As you mentioned, not a great in-ring performer.
Not a great person either.
But the electricity that he brought.
When you heard that music kick.
When he would come running out to the ring.
The fucking ropes shaking him, everything.
Absolutely incredible. He was a sight to see. His match with Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6.
Hulk Hogan! Hulk Hogan.
His match with Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6, one of the more entertaining matches, even though it wasn't greatly worked in the ring.
The energy and what it meant. So, you're excited, I'm excited. Taylor, I know you're not as big a wrestling fan, but you know The Ultimate Warrior.
All I know about The Ultimate Warrior is that, from the clips that I've seen and I've watched from him, that, that dude had a presence about him that was just out of control. Like, again, what Josh said, when that music would come on, and then you would see the ribbons and stuff flying off his arms as he's tearing ass to the ring.
Exactly.
Funny that you would mention out of control, because one of his most famous promos included him shouting that the power of the Ultimate Warrior is totally out of control.
That did not happen on purpose. I literally don't know.
But no, it was good timing. So, that out of the way. Next big thing, this was kind of a big subject. Saturday, the Major League Baseball announced that Alex Rodriguez's suspension was reduced from 211 games to 162. Also, the postseason, if the Yankees make it there. And then on Sunday night after the games, Anthony Bosch, the guy that was the Biogenesis owner and runner, did an interview with 60 Minutes. And did either of you guys get to watch this at all?
Unfortunately, I didn't know.
Josh?
No, I didn't watch it. I refuse to watch this. I believe that this is a disgusting aberration of the game by Major League Baseball. Let's put it aside whether or not A-Rod's guilty of this stuff, which he probably is.
Time out. Danny's cutting in. Okay.
Who the fuck is Danny?
That's tomato. So the thing I'll say, I watched the interview, so I'll explain it to you guys and anyone listening. First off, no one looks good in this interview. Anthony Bosch looked like a scumbag liar. Bud Selig looked like an old senile man who just had a vendetta. Rob Manfred, the guy that headed up the investigation, looked like a guy that would just wanted to do everything to bury him. And A-Rod and his lawyers, A-Rod didn't speak, but his lawyer, Mike Topeka, spoke, and he looked like a bigger slime ball than Bosch. Now, the things I'll tell you about. Bosch said that he gave A-Rod testosterone, insulin growth factor 1, HGH, and peptides, which both insulin growth factor and peptides are used as anti-aging things. He claims that he has injected A-Rod personally, including in a nightclub bathroom stall, because A-Rod is afraid of needles, and A-Rod has been a client since 2010. Originally, when A-Rod contacted him, he specifically asked Bosch what he was giving Manny Ramirez in 2008 and 2009. So he heard through the grapevine that this was the guy that Manny was getting it from. A-Rod apparently was obsessed with being the first and only player to get 800 home runs in his career. Now, this is just all hearsay. It's easy to say, oh, we did this and that, he told me this. But he also provided records of dates, times, and dosages, including 6-banned substances that he gave A-Rod. He specifically said there was a type of gummy, a testosterone gummy, that A-Rod would take before games that would boost his play and specifically not come up in a post-game drug test if he was randomly selected. It's something that he would have to take at specific times because a 15-minute difference would mean failing a test and passing one. Bosch provided over 1,200 text messages, BBM messages, which they actually had A-Rod's BBM pin that matched up to one of A-Rod's phone numbers. That was exchanging, different stuff using code and giving tips to A-Rod how to beat drug testing. So right there, the first thing you hear, like, okay, it's just some scumbag criminal that is saying these things to make himself look better. But then he has a paper trail. That's huge. So they brought Bud Selig in, and he claims that A-Rod's actions were the worst he's seen in 50 years of working in baseball. I'll get my opinions on that in a little bit. But apparently A-Rod Associates tried convincing Anthony Bosch to go to Colombia to stay there. He'd get $20K a month to keep his mouth shut, and then another $100K when he came back until the investigation was over. One of the stupid things, Bosch's girlfriend claims that she got a text saying that Bosch wouldn't live to see the end of the year. Both Rob Manfred, the guy that headed the investigation, and Bosch both claimed that Bosch was threatened and intimidated by a very well-known Alex Rodriguez associate. MLB apparently paid $125K to some guy named Bobby. Just called up and said, I have these Biogenesis documents. They paid $125K. They paid $100K and then another $25 for these documents to get all the paper trail and everything. But one of the other big things trailing this, Anthony Bosch showed a document that was paid almost $50,000 to him on a wire transfer from A-Rod Corporation, which eventually he returned because it was a bribe. So there's a lot of obviously A-Rod's lawyer denied all the things, and he was accusing people of things like any good lawyer will do. But the biggest thing that, besides the paper trail, the most important thing that stood out to me, of every player that has ever failed a drug test with Major League Baseball and denied it, he's the only one that refused to take the stand and defend himself. The only player that has failed and tried appealing it that didn't take the stand to deny it and defend himself because he didn't want to lie under oath. So that says a lot to me. Now, what Taylor, you're not as big a baseball fan. You don't keep up with it as much as me and Josh do. When I tell you these things, what I just told you, without knowing the grand scheme of things and all the stuff that went on, what do you think?
Well, I mean, just to be clear, and I don't follow baseball nearly as much. And again, I know Dan said that, but when it comes down to it, just as a situation, not even having to do anything with Major League Baseball.
If I didn't tell you his name was Alex Rodriguez, what would you think?
Scumbag.
Which one?
Scumbag liar, all of them. And anyone who was denying the allegations of using performance-enhancing drugs in any type of professional sport, especially the part, and again, like there were breadcrumbs leading
a paper trail,
and it was just
so,
I don't know. It's
so
just
you agree with the 162 game suspension?
To be completely honest, I think it should be a lifetime ban.
Okay, that's interesting.
And again,
even though he had never been suspended before, you think he should have gotten a lifetime ban? Is that because of all the other stuff around it?
If you look at all the flack around everything that's going on with Alex Rodriguez right now, I believe it's in Major League Baseball's best interest to rid them of this stain. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Alex Rodriguez was good for the game of baseball, but once everything came out into the open, it's just been nothing but
we're talking
a black
about,
cloud.
I'm not an A-Rod fan, but even though he's never had a criminal record besides the steroid stuff, you really believe that?
I honestly do because
I respect it.
It doesn't matter if you're how much of a good person you act like it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree.
It just turns out to be you're a real scumbag, and it all comes down at once.
All right, well, I like your opinion. Josh, let's hear yours. I'm sure yours is a little different. Let's hear it.
All right.
Tiny bit.
Alex Rodriguez is not a good person.
Okay.
There we go.
I'm not shocked to hear the claims that Bosch has made. I wouldn't be shocked if it came down to it and we finally found out that this is definitely 100% factual. A-Rod has been taking these performance-enhancing drugs for all these years. I would not be surprised to hear any of that. My issue is with the way that this investigation was conducted, the way that this suspension was brought about, the way that Bud Selig has acted throughout this entire process. Because in my mind, in my eyes, being a baseball fan, seeing growing up through the steroid era, being a fan through the steroid era. The only person to point a finger at is Bud Selig.
And you're not wrong. I said that with you last week, that I thought Selig is a huge part of it. But there's other things that have come out since I originally took these notes. Apparently, Buster Olney said on Sunday that MLB offered originally A-Rod straight up 50-game suspension. 50-game suspension because we know you were in there and we won't investigate it anymore and we won't reveal the details. And he said no. I think it's at the point where Alex Rodriguez believes his lies. Now, here's the biggest thing. Why 162 games? And you want to know why? Because it's the crown jewel. It's A-Rod. It's the highest paid player ever. The guy with the biggest crowd around him, no matter what he does. But is he that much worse of a guy than Ryan Braun? Ryan Braun, a guy that sabotaged a man last year on a drug test and ran this guy's name into the ground saying that he tried to sabotage me, and then it turns out you were a cheater anyway? So is A-Rod worse than Ryan Braun? But Ryan Braun knew he fucked up, and he took a straight-up 67-game suspension. They had A-Rod dead to rights, and they probably faced him with all the facts, and now A-Rod is going after everyone that's on his side. He's suing the Major League Baseball Players Union, who backed him up the whole time. Now, it is definitely a witch hunt by Major League Baseball.
Oh,
they wanted to take him out. They wanted to prove, but 13 other players were on here, but he's the only one that wouldn't accept his suspension. But it's a clear paper trail. He's going to try and take it to federal court. He has no chance of winning in federal court. With all this, there's money and there's text messages, you have no chance.
See, it's one thing when you know you fucked up and you sit there and you admit it like a man and take your punishment. And that's why, listen, and no matter how much of a scumbag Ryan Braun really is for doing everything that he did, he looked at the camera and said, I did what I did, and I'm sorry.
And you know what? And I thought I don't like Ryan Braun because of that. He dragged a man's name through the dirt, but he redeemed himself. You could say it's because he had to, and he did, but he still did it.
But again, he did what he needed to do. He took the suspension, and he's going to play baseball again.
Exactly. So while I definitely think it's a witch hunt, I don't think it's about merit. When you talk about all the other stuff there, that he tried buying evidence, that this stuff, there's more of the stuff is going to come out because A-Rod and his lawyers tried getting baseball or the players union and the arbitrator to not allow the documents to come out, all the information. They said no, it's coming out. So every little detail that we don't know yet is going to come out, and it's not going to look good for him. He's going to get the 160 game suspension is happening either way.
100%.
And do I think it's fair? No. I think when you look at everything else, it probably should have been about 100 games for a guy that never, failed the drug test and that was supposed to be revealed. It probably 100 games when you talk about all the other stuff. But when you're A-Rod, and when you're the highest paid player in the game, should you be held to a higher standard? And that's the question. That's the ultimate question. But make no doubt about it, Selig is retiring, and he wanted the rarest hunt you could get, and he wanted that head on his mantle. And fair or not, it is what it is. A-Rod clearly fucked up here. He has done nothing but degrade the game of baseball. It's never been about numbers for him or record. Actually, that's probably all it's been about. But it's never been about his team. It's never been about improving the game of baseball. He doesn't care about the integrity of the game. He's a self-conscious little piece of shit. That's all he is. Mm-hmm. And the Yankees should just buy out his contract and let him ride off into the sunset as he does. He's gonna go the Jose Canseco trail and try and play an independent ball for all these years. Mm-hmm. And the guy that should have been the greatest player that ever lived is now going to go down as the dirtiest player that ever lived, more than Shoeless Joe Jackson or any of those guys. And it's unfortunate because he's not a criminal. He hasn't gone out and hurt anyone. I don't believe he threatened people and intimidated Bosch. And if they did, why don't you tell us who this known associate is? If she got a text message, you showed us 1,200 other text messages, show us that text message. Yep. He's never been a guy that's been violent or anything, but he's a sleazeball. I think that's as simple as that. He's a sleazeball piece of shit.
What the thing that upsets me the most about this whole thing is, what this is going to come down to. The person that this is going to come down the hardest on, that's not directly involved, is Joe Girardi, because Brian Cashman's going to shirk all the he's going to shirk the questions. He's going to no comment everything.
Unfortunately,
but Joe is the kind of guy. He's going to talk about it. They're going to ask him about it, and it's going to be, well, Joe, if A-Rod goes to spring training, Joe, what are your plans for A-Rod? And it's going to be a distraction to the team. It's going to hamper their performance this year, I believe, for sure.
I mean, I think eventually the questions will die down because really federal court's not going to see this for quite a while.
Yeah.
So enough about that slimeball piece of shit. We obviously have very similar opinions, but let's get to my favorite part of the day, the podcast, the Q&A section. I've asked you guys a bunch to send me questions on Facebook and Twitter. Got a bunch. I couldn't get all of them. I got a lot on Twitter again, but I got a good amount of them. I figure there's 3 of us. I take a few more. Now, first question is, if Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight story arc continued, what villain would you like to see next? And then the next part, it's a 3-part question. Do I feel they did a good job portraying the classics without making them too over the top in the 3 movies? And what would I have changed? Villain for me, I'd love to see them do Freeze right. Not the Arnold where he makes a pun every time.
Where he's hanging out in Arkham and that one little beam of light keeps him alive.
Exactly. That's stupid. So I would love to see Freeze done the right way. I don't know. I would like to see Penguin too. As much as I love DeVito's Penguin, Philip Seymour Hoffman would make an awesome Penguin.
Oh, dude. That's my dude.
And I think they did a great job portraying the classics in a sense where it didn't appear like a comic book. Not like, like Burton and Schumacher's ones were very animated, which is fine. They were that type of movie. I thought they did a nice job giving them credit, specifically the writing of Ra's al Ghul, the Joker, Scarecrow. The Bane one, questionable, but I thought those ones specifically, the entire arc of the League of Shadows was very well done. The only thing I would have changed is Bane's backstory a little more true to the comic, but I understand why they did it. What about you? What villain, Taylor?
Well, again, I'm going to agree with you on Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze is probably one of my favorite.
The best Batman animated movie was Sub-Zero, the one where they went back with Mr. Freeze. That was the best one.
Absolutely.
No, I
All right,
disagree with that.
We'll get to that.
Well, I mean, if it comes down to anything, again, I would want to be Mr. Freeze, just because that whole story is just so compelling and because so interesting to do it, especially the way Nolan made those 3 movies. I feel like I'd really like to see it done in that aspect, not like a cartoony Tim Burton type of deal, because I mean it was Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, what do you expect? Do you expect him not to talk like a big dumb idiot?
I mean, but it started with the one before that, Batman Forever, is when they got really animated.
Yeah.
But how did you feel about the way they portrayed the
villains?
No, in this one, yeah. How do you think they portrayed the classics?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I don't know that much, but just going from a standpoint of how
enjoyed it,
how something's supposed to hit you, I really think Heath Ledger's Joker is second to none as far as villains on screen. Bane was absolutely unbelievable, and I really think the best thing about The Dark Knight Rises was how they broke Batman's back.
That was perfect.
Exactly how that happened in the comic book, which was fantastic.
Okay.
Ra's al Ghul was great. Scarecrow was pretty cool, but it comes down to it. Bane and Joker,
and it was written very well.
Were fantastic.
What about you? What villain, Josh?
For me, if you look at the movies and the way that they played out, if you were to go beyond The Dark Knight Rises and the way that the villains in that movie panned out, the way the Bane and eventually what we found out to become Talia al Ghul, the way that they tortured Gotham City, the way they broke it off from the rest of the world and did what they did. To follow that up, you would have to get the next biggest Batman villain, which I think would have to be the Penguin.
That's fair. But even Riddler, if they did him right, would be cool. Get Crispin Glover. But I know you were happy with the way they portrayed the trilogy as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that obviously Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker was one for the ages. I wasn't too keen on the way that Bane played out. It
could have been written differently. I thought Hardy played it well for the way it was written, because you have to go off body language completely.
I mean, you want to talk about a guy who made you feel something just by acting with his eyes.
That was Hardy.
Unbelievable.
So you would have changed the Bane backstory and
a little bit. Okay. I think so.
Okay. All right. Well, next question: who are the best and worst owners in professional sports? Worst, I have to go Daniel Snyder. The Washington Redskins, and in football, and Jeff Wilpon of the New York Mets for just sleeping in bed with Bernie Madoff. Not literally, but I know Bernie Madoff's your boy, but it's pretty obvious he was running a Ponzi scheme, and their team is hurting because of it. So Snyder thinks he's Jerry Jones. I mean, Jerry Jones very closely makes the list, but I have to give him a little more leeway because he still sells out every game, and they still have the highest rating, so he knows how to put a product out there at least. It's entertaining, whether they're great or bad, because...
Are you talking about Jerry or Snyder?
Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones can suck a cock.
I agree. So I'd have to go with those guys. The best owners in sports, the New York Giants, the Mara family, consistent, loyal, very good, and they win, and the Rooney family of the Steelers.
I was about to say.
As far as baseball, that's a tough one, because baseball is very... it's really hard to say in baseball. But
there's really not a lot of families that come to mind that own baseball.
Yeah,
like there's a lot of ownership.
You got to give
groups.
Mark Cuban credit in basketball too, and Mikhail Prokhorov, because they'll just spend money. Dolan would spend money too, but he's just an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who would you say worst?
Worst?
Yeah, worst.
Across all
sports, who's the worst owner?
I hate Jerry Jones.
Okay.
And the reason why I hate Jerry Jones is because he thinks he's a coach when he's not. He thinks he's a GM and he's not. He
is technically the GM. I know.
He is, but he said on record once, and I forget when, but if he was the GM and like he was the owner, he would fire himself.
Then do it.
Do us all a favor.
Do it. Don't do me a favor. I'm happy the Cowboys suck.
Actually, no. Wait, do me a favor, Jerry, because I live with a Cowboys fan, and it's awful.
Oh, you know what? Actually, one of my best friends, Justin, he's a huge Cowboys fan, and I'm not sure he's going to live to see 2015 at this rate. So, fire yourself. So you go Jerry Jones.
I go Jerry Jones.
What do you say, Josh?
I'm going to agree with you, Dan Snyder. As much as I like RG3 and I like his upside, he runs that team, and he shouldn't.
Exactly. So, all right. Next question. I think this one is geared towards me. Talk about your homosexuality and your first gay experiences.
Yeah, do tell, Dan.
You know, it was a long time ago, and I was out camping with Josh, and
No.
And I woke up.
Not true.
Oh, that wasn't you?
No.
Oh, well. All right, well, if he's not here, I can't really get into it, but I was 12, and he was very, very gentle. Next question is another one I don't think you guys can really answer, but I'll tell you a little background. Recently, more and more retired MMA fighters are becoming judges for mixed martial arts as opposed to boxing judges judging MMA fights. Most recently, a guy I know, Ricardo Almeida, he's going to be judging the next UFC pay-per-view. And they asked me which retired MMA fighters would be good judges, and there's another follow-up question. But I think, if you get some of the former legends, you get Randy Couture, Chuck Liddell, Matt Hughes, they know what they're looking at. And even if you get guys that weren't that great of fighters, but they were coaches and everything, I think I'd love to see more coaches in there as well.
See, the one part that sucks is that Randy Couture is too busy with his movie career.
His great
MMA.
His fantastic movie career.
His awesome trilogy and the fucking Expendables.
I love those movies, though.
Great movies.
I mean, they're stupid, but they're great.
And the next question is, who will be the next UFC champion to fall? That's a tough one. I mean, Weidman, he beat Anderson Silva twice, but he's going to be facing a stiff challenge in Vitor Belfort. I don't see anyone beating Ronda Rousey. John Jones looked susceptible his last fight, but I think that's just a matchup with Gustafsson. Cain Velasquez could lose his belt because he doesn't have a great chin, and heavyweights obviously hit hard. I'm going to say Vitor beats Chris Weidman. I hope Weidman wins, but I think Vitor wins. All right, next question. Who's the best general manager in the NFL and why? I'm going to go Ozzie Newsome of the Baltimore Ravens. Consistently had good teams in there. He finds players that you don't really expect to do well, and he does a good job. This past year was his first really bad year in a while, but I'd have to go Ozzie Newsome personally. He always seems to find players. No one expected Torrey Smith. You got Ray Rice to play like a first-round running back. Flacco's played pretty well. I mean, you could complain about the extension, but they had to pay him. So I'm going to go Newsome. What about you, Josh?
My pick is not going to be a traditional GM, but it's going to be the guy that makes all the football decisions.
Don't say Belichick. Don't look at the amount of misses they've had in the draft. I was telling Taylor a few weeks ago.
I think that you got to look at it. Look at a year like this year. You're really playing with a patchwork team, and
okay, but that's the coaching. Who the fuck have they replaced with Randy Moss? Who? They've missed on how many draft picks at wide receiver? You can't say Belichick. I refuse to accept that answer.
You can say Belichick.
What?
You can say Belichick.
No, you can't. No. You could say he's the best coach, and I'm okay with it. Look at the amount of draft misses they've had.
I know. We've talked about that. What I'm saying is that if you look at... I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but the fact that you look at it, Belichick can take nothing and put some...
But that's coaching. That's schemes. Yeah, that's not what they can do. That's not the type of player they are. It's how he uses them. And that's about the general manager.
That's about the coaching. Players in that fit his scheme.
He doesn't. It doesn't matter about fitting his scheme. It's a good general manager picks a player that you don't see doing really well, that comes out of nowhere in the draft, and he has missed on the draft more than anyone. You look at it; they've missed on so many draft picks. They've drafted so many wide receivers. You're talking. Just go back to the 07 season. Who was the running back? Fucking Lawrence Maroney, who they spent the first round pick. Benjamin Watson, who they spent the first round pick on. What about they took who's the kick returner in Cincinnati? He was a third round pick at wide receiver. Now he just returns kicks. for another team? No, not Bill Belichick. I'm sorry, you could think that. Fuck yourself. Taylor, what do you say?
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be biased. I'm gonna go not really a GM, but it's gonna be the VP of Football Operations, John Elway.
Hey, good call.
And the reason why I say that is simply for the fact that I was say just before. I'm saying before I go on, just. Okay, that escalated quickly, by the way. But no, John Elway, as far as the VP of Football Operations,
he sold Peyton Manning on coming to Denver,
which no one thought was going to happen.
They were like at the bottom of the list.
He sold Peyton Manning on coming to Denver. He sold Wes Welker on coming to Denver
for less money,
for much less money.
Yeah,
he left money on the table in New England. If I remember correctly.
Not New England. There were other teams offering. They don't know who.
Okay, but then also putting together a team full of draft picks, low draft picks, and just putting together a team that the last 2 years has been probably the second best in the AFC.
Yeah.
First this year, second last year. Mm-hmm. So you look at players, Chris Harris, Danny Trevathan, a 6th-round pick out of Kentucky, contributing.
Julius Thomas.
Who the fuck is Julius Thomas?
Getting Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie at nothing was huge.
And I love how they courted him into Denver, just simply for the fact that they told him what he could improve on, and he signed with
Exactly. So I'll agree. I'm half serious about the Belichick thing, but when I look at a guy who and he's missed in drafts so much, I can't say he's the best GM because they've left a lot of draft picks on the table. So that's ultimately what it comes down to. So this is another very interesting question. Who would win in a fight, Roy Halou Jr. or Billie Jean King?
I'm gonna say Billie Jean King because
she's a lesbian.
Yeah,
is she?
Definitely.
Okay, I'm going to pick Billie Jean King. I think it's a unanimous Billie Jean King?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Three names wins every time.
All right. So this, I don't know, Batman's my favorite superhero. Someone asked, why is Batman superior to all the other superheroes? He's my favorite. He's not superior. I like him more because he's not truly a superhero. He doesn't have any powers. He just has a lot of money, and he's a great martial artist.
Mommy and Daddy gave him.
Well, Mommy and Daddy didn't give him anything. Mommy and Daddy left. They died. So I like the fact that he doesn't actually have any superpowers. So you guys, I know you like Superman. You like Deadpool. Okay, fair. All right. Next question. This is actually one I might ask you guys, even though you're not big MMA fans. As a hardcore fan, it's easier for me to answer. But if someone talks about the UFC, of the current guys that are in place that aren't retired, who do you think is the face of the UFC?
Face of the UFC?
Yeah.
Honestly, John Bones Jones.
Okay.
Just simply for the fact that he doesn't lose.
Yeah, that's
fair. Again, like I said, he was tested in his last fight.
Gustafsson, yeah.
His toe practically got ripped off his
No, that
foot.
was the Chael Sonnen fight.
Regardless.
But he won.
But again, he's been tested his last 2 fights. But again, if you look at it from a fan perspective, I don't follow UFC. But every time I talk UFC, what do I talk about?
John Jones.
Because you know why? That's who I know.
Okay, and what would you say?
The UFC is a sport. It's an organization.
It is a sport.
It's ever evolving.
Fact.
If you say John Bones is the face now, you could easily argue that a year ago Anderson Silva was the face.
Or George St. Pierre.
I was just going to say you could easily argue a year before that GSP was the face. You could easily argue for a while before that. It
was Chuck Liddell, it was Randy Couture,
Matt, Sarah.
I think that what it really comes down to, and this is probably going to be an unpopular thing to say.
No shit.
The face of the UFC is Dana White.
That's honestly what I would say that. But recently, the most popular and talked about fighter in the UFC hasn't been a man; it's been Ronda Rousey. So that's the one that she's pulling in crazy.
Dude, I don't care what anybody says. Ronda Rousey is a babe.
Yeah, I don't like the little piece of shit under her eye.
If she was a president, she'd be Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln. All right. So next question is, this is, I don't know how much horror movies you guys watch. I really need some horror movie suggestions. I've been kind of down on the horror market as of late. Actually, I really dug The Conjuring. I thought The Conjuring was one of the better, well-made horror movies the last few years. Didn't go with the typical jump-in-your-face kind of shit. Very well done, well acted. James Wan, the creator of Saw, did that one. He also did Insidious, which I wasn't crazy about. I really dug The Conjuring. I'm a big zombie movie fan. There was an independent zombie film from about 2 years ago called The Dead, which was phenomenal. I would recommend checking out The Dead also.
What was that movie with Ethan Hawke? Like maybe 2 years ago.
Sinister.
I
heard that was good.
I hate scary. I'm just making it clear right now. Scary movies are stupid. Because I don't like being scared. So it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
And if you guys ever see Taylor, he's like about 6 foot, 250. He's a big boy, and he's a gentle giant.
I'm the biggest fucking scaredy cat in the world. But when it comes down to it, like as far as a movie, that Ethan Hawke movie Sinister was actually very good. Again,
I've heard good things.
Again, it didn't jump out at you like any other movie normally would.
Okay, so. Josh, you have anything?
Not really big in the horror genre. Don't watch a lot of movies. Did see the most recent incarnation of The Evil Dead and loved it.
I love The Evil Dead. Okay, cool.
I gotta catch that. I didn't see that yet.
So, all right, here's another one. Do you think it's fair that Seattle is banning selling tickets to residents of California? This is actually Broncos are doing this too. Both teams are only selling tickets to people in 6 different states. In New England, the New England area obviously is not one of them. California is not one of them. I think it's fair. I mean, listen, you want to create your own home field advantage. There's plenty of teams out there that don't have a home field advantage. I like it. I'm a fan.
Well, I mean, you're also talking about between Seattle and Denver.
Yeah.
You're probably talking about 2 franchises that have really had a resurgence the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's selling out.
They're really like the last time Denver was relevant was 1999, or really when the Steelers won. But what I'm saying is that it's not a bad idea. I personally, I don't see why you wouldn't.
Yeah,
So-
I think. Josh, what do you think?
As a fan of a team that is not in my area,
You'd be pissed.
Yeah, if not that I've ever been to Atlanta for a Falcons game,
But still, if they were competing for, you would
if they were
down the road.
if this was last year and they were 13-3 and
you might realistically go down
there.
there.
I might realistically go down there, spend a weekend, might want to catch a game. I would.
The other,
Josh rolling through the ATL, bro.
The other aspect to think about is, are they trying to eliminate fan violence like you see so often, which is, I think, is something to consider because you've seen it more and more as of late, fan violence and cruelty.
Well, I was going to say, did you see that video where the Jets fan just clocked that bitch
Those
in the
women
face?
had it coming because she was coming at him first. I'm not going to get into that because any woman that hits me like a man, I'm going to hit her like she's a man, and she's not going to forget it either.
Okay, that's a real cool story. That's not my point. What I'm saying is that, again...
The interaction between visiting teams.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And that could be a big part of it, but I don't think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Now, all right, who's going to win each regular season award in the NFL? Obviously,
I'm going to answer for all 3 of us for MVP. Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning.
Duh.
You can't. There's nothing else you could say. Coach of the year. I'm going to go. Ron Rivera. I know Andy Reid brought the Colts back or the Chiefs back or whatever. He inherited a good roster. I'm sorry. They had 6 Pro Bowlers the year before, 5 All-Pros, a lot of cap room. They got a great quarterback in Alex Smith, and they had a ton of money to spend, too, and they did.
Again, and I agree with that 100%. Just like I said, all that Kansas City was a coach, and they got it.
And a quarterback. And he did a great job. Listen, he still brought them to 11 wins. They didn't have a great schedule, but they took advantage. So Reid did a great job. If they gave it to him, I wouldn't cry robbery. But I'd give it to Ron Rivera or Bruce Arians.
I'm gonna go Ron Rivera too, just simply for the fact that he turned that Carolina defense into an elite defense.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And he's turned Luke Kuechly probably into,
without question, the best linebacker.
That this game's going to see for the next 10 years, easy.
Okay, and Josh?
I'm going to say Bruce Arians.
Even though they didn't make the playoffs?
We're talking about a team that's been quite honestly since Kurt Warner retired, it's been a joke.
Yep.
He goes to that team. He makes them a contender. They just missed the playoffs.
Carson Palmer played great.
Carson Palmer, who has not played great for the last couple of years, played very well. Mm-hmm. So I got to say,
Arians.
I'm
okay with that. I'm okay with that. Next one would be Defensive Player of the Year. I have to go Robert Mathis. I'll give you another one that he doesn't have the numbers that stand out. I'll go Earl Thomas. He was so good in the middle of the field. He's the reason why Richard Sherman does so well. Is both those. Richard Sherman's great, but he's a big reason why. But my number 1 and 2 are Robert Mathis and Kuechly.
I'm gonna go Luke Kuechly here because it goes, like I said before, this kid was good coming out of Boston College. Like, he was good,
and he was great the last 2 years.
And it was like week 12, and he had 135 tackles.
He had that one game with 26 tackles.
Like this kid is a machine.
Yeah.
And like I said, he's going to set a precedent for what a middle linebacker should be
in today's NFL.
And
Josh, what would you say for defensive?
I'm going to say Robert Mathis as well. He creates an amazing amount of pressure. Led the league in sacks.
And it's the first time he's done that. People don't realize he already broke the Colts franchise sack record held by Dwight Freeney. Mm-hmm. I mean, he never had more than 11. And he never had more than 11.5 sacks in a season. So he stepped up big time with Freeney leaving. So he was getting more attention, and he still put up more sacks.
Yeah. And that team, obviously they made the playoffs, they won some games. You're not going to win games without pressuring the quarterback.
I agree.
That's why.
And defensive and offensive rookie of the year, Kiko Alonso won today for defensive player of the year. So that it was between him and Sheldon Richardson. I'd give it to Kiko just because he had the bigger difference-making stats like interceptions, and he's this guy who looks like a safety playing linebacker.
I was gonna say, what is he like? 5'10", 5'11",
He's skinny,
210
so,
maybe.
as far as offensive rookie of the year, I gotta go Eddie Lacy.
Absolutely.
I know Keenan Allen had a great year at receiver, but Lacy was when Aaron Rodgers was out, it was the Eddie Lacy show. That's what it was.
Again, like there was no one that stabilized that offense until Eddie Lacy showed up.
Yeah.
So like I said, there was an okay ground game, and then now Green Bay brings in a 3-down back. And
exactly.
They stabilize that offense.
Now this is a tough one. Comeback player of the year.
Comeback player of the year?
A bias for me, but he missed pretty much all last year. Brent Grimes was phenomenal at Miami. Didn't give up a single touchdown all year. Four interceptions. He was phenomenal. Tore his Achilles at 31 years old to come back from that and have all-pro season at cornerback or a Pro Bowl season is very impressive. So I'd give Grimes just because I honestly can't pull one off the top of my head right now.
I'm going to go way out of left field. And technically, it's not really a comeback, and I don't think he's even really up for the award. But I want to say Alex Smith, and the reason the reason why I'm saying it is simply because
I see where you're going,
because he when Jim Harbaugh shows up, he did really good in San Francisco, and then he got hurt. Colin Kaepernick, and then the rest is history. And he shows up. He has 1 year in Kansas City,
and he's awesome.
And he puts up fantastic numbers. The guy can run, the guy can throw, and he doesn't turn the ball.
That's
over.
important. So I like that. That's an interesting one, Josh.
My pick is gonna be a little bit different than your guys. I wouldn't really say it's a comeback per se, but I'm gonna say Carson Palmer wasn't injured, but sorry, Khaled, he was on the Raiders.
Yeah,
you're mad.
So okay, I like it.
Also, just one more. I was going to say Jamal Charles too.
That's fair. Okay, I like it. Another question: humanitarian of the year. I'm not going to let you guys answer. I'm going to go with James Holmes.
Stop it.
So next question: what would you get for a 6-year-old boy who chronically wets his bed? A clothespin for his dong, personally.
Fleshlight.
What? Are we talking about Colucci or a 6-year-old who lets his bed?
Touche. Okay, next question.
It's the same thing. What are you talking about?
Okay, next one. Colucci is a fleshlight for other people.
He experimented in college.
All right, favorite Power Ranger. Oh, dude. Anyone but the Black Ranger. I was a big fan of the Red Ranger, and then White Ranger Tommy came along, and obviously I was a fan of the White Ranger.
I'm gonna go, and
although the Pink Ranger was a piece of ace. So what would you say?
I was actually gonna go Tommy Oliver again, Jason David Frank, but as the Red Zeo Ranger.
I don't know what the fuck that is.
See, I stopped watching. I'm a huge fan play. I watched that for so long.
Okay,
and it was the second season after the initial Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Okay.
Yes, I'm a nerd. My bad. Okay. But again, it's still Jason David Frank, but in a different season.
Okay, and Josh?
I'm going to go with the Green Ranger.
Oh, that was when Tommy was originally the Green Ranger. Okay, and he had the cool shoulder pads.
Yeah, and he had the dragon.
I think anyone.
Yeah,
it's obviously
really shitty dagger.
It's obviously that the blacks like the Black Ranger. In fact, I'll tell you a true story. When I was in preschool, my best friend in the world, Jared, I've known since preschool. We used to play Power Rangers at preschool. We always made him be the Black Ranger. He didn't have a choice. So, but I think black people like the Black Ranger. The yellow people, Asians like the Yellow Ranger. Everyone loves the Pink Ranger because she's a babe. Who the hell likes Billy?
The Blue Ranger piece of shit.
Exactly. Screw that guy. So, next question is, how do I feel about the Knicks and Nets' chances of making the playoffs after a strong start in 2014? I mean, the Atlantic Division is awful.
Yeah, it's
right now
hard.
The Nets are the 8th seed, I believe, or the Knicks are. Either one of them. And
it's not hard to make the playoffs in the.
I think both will make it. I think both make it.
I think they'll make the playoffs, but they're not going to. There's not going to be any type. There's not going to be any type of push whatsoever.
No, and that's true. But a lot hinges on Darren Williams. Okay,
he can stay healthy.
Now does Melo get traded before the deadline, and will he resign when the season ends? No, he won't get traded, and no, he will not resign. He's going to go to the Lakers.
I was going to say no to both. I don't know who he's going to sign with, but I know he's not staying in New York.
The Lakers or Mark Cuban, Dallas Mavericks.
I don't see why not.
He'll spend it. So I think we both agree he's not going to get traded, and I don't think he'll resign.
He's not. I don't. Unless they're willing to offer him a lot of money, which he's
going to get a max contract.
Yeah, he's going to get a max
but
contract.
But I don't think he wants to be here anymore. And that's what people that are close to him sound like as well.
And when you also bring up the Mavericks, now I'm interested to see if that does happen, how Carmelo and Dirk would coincide or coexist.
Well, Dirk can play a lot of different ways, but they both create their own shots. So
I think he needs to go somewhere where he's not going to get a lot of media attention because I think that's That's what brings him down a lot.
Yep, it's true.
And if he thinks he's gonna go to the Lakers and get less media attention,
it's a different type. It's a different type of media
yeah,
attention.
but you're taking over. But you're gonna be then viewed as the heir apparent to Kobe Bryant.
No, and that's listen.
And
It's
then you're talking about
once
national
again,
media.
you're not talking. But you're not talking. New York's media is negative driven media. While Lakers out there, they're all about the Lakers and they want to be positive. It's nothing but negativity out here.
They're the most storied franchise in NBA history.
So next question. This is I have a good friend who's a Detroit Lions fan. So what's your feelings about the curse of the Detroit Lions head coaching job? No coach of the Lions has been rehired as a head coach after they've been fired for the last 25 years or so. I mean, that's pretty obvious why they got hired. The Lions have been terrible for the last 25 years. Schwartz has been their best coach, and he had the worst record of any head coach besides the guy that was the head coach of the expansion Bucks. But I do think Schwartz will get another head coaching job in the future. I like a lot of the things he does. I think he just needs to figure out what his issues were. I don't think it's a curse so much as that the franchise was just run by Matt Millen forever and for a long time.
Just ran it into the ground.
Exactly. And so that's the big thing. So I don't think there's any curse. I just think it's unfortunately it's a snake bitten franchise, but I think Caldwell is the right track personally. So is it weird that my dog likes to watch me pee? I think we've all had situations where a pet walked in on you just going to the bathroom. Come on.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay, so and how does it make you feel?
Fucking weird.
Okay,
you shout at it.
But who's weirder for you? If you don't shout at the dog, does it make you weird, or is a dog weird for coming in? Yeah, I don't really know how to answer this question. I think if your dog actually likes it and you know he likes it, I think it's a little weird that you had that kind of intimate relationship with your dog. So this question's once again just for me. How much of a lad is Steve Boogie? Now, lad, this is a question for my friend who's out in England. Steve Boogie is the owner and creator of the forum that I post and administrate on. He's the Detroit Lions fan that we were just speaking about. He's a good friend. He's a great lad. He's a bit of a drunken lunatic, and he's went from being a genetic freak to being overweight. But he is a genuinely good person, and I appreciate his insanity. I appreciate the fact that he texts random people that he doesn't know, whose numbers he found, and sends them inappropriate pictures. So yeah, I love Steve. He's a good lad.
He's a good lad.
Now this one, I don't know if it's geared towards me, but I'm going to ask Josh.
Yeah.
Why do birds suddenly appear every time you are near?
I don't fucking know.
Would you know why birds suddenly appear? Because I'm gay.
Sure.
Okay. Who will hire a head coach first, the Cleveland Browns or the Minnesota Vikings?
I'm going to take this one first, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I think that the Minnesota Vikings are going to hire a coach first because you look at the Cleveland Browns and that they had some positive strides this year. Why did Rob Trubisky get fired? I don't think that you're going to have an easy time finding a coach out there right now that wants to work for Jimmy Haslam, that really believes in Joe Banner as a football guy. And nobody likes Mark Lombardi.
Yeah.
And if you get that job in Minnesota, you have a chance to work with some solid players. You have a chance to work with Adrian Peterson. You have a chance to work with Greg Jennings. You have a chance to work with Jared Allen. Cordarrelle Patterson, who had a pretty good rookie year.
Really good rookie year.
The quarterback situation needs some figuring out, but you have the pieces in place to get a quarterback and make a run. I agree. So the Vikings looks like they're going to hire Mike Zimmer, the Bengals' longtime defensive coordinator, long overdue for a head coaching job. That he's going in for a second interview. The Browns, apparently, they wanted McDaniels. Then he said no because he wasn't their first choice, and I agree. If I'm not their first choice, that's what Shedzinski was. Todd Bowles, the Cardinals' defensive coordinator, just withdrew his name. They want Broncos' offensive coordinator Adam Gase. If they take him, that is a typical Browns mistake because everyone knows if you're an offensive coordinator for Peyton Manning, not like Mike McCoy, you are not the offensive coordinator. That is a Peyton Manning run show.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, Adam Gase was given the keys to a Ferrari and told not to crash it.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. So if the Browns really want Gase that bad and they hire him, they're just setting themselves and their fans up for disappointment again. So the Vikings will hire a head coach first. Staying on the track of head coaching jobs. Which coach enters the best team and situation as far as being a new head coach and who will have the more successful year? It's got to be Jim Caldwell.
100%.
Inheriting Stafford, Megatron, Reggie Bush, a pretty solid defense, a very young team, and an owner, specifically an owner that is not going to meddle. He wants to keep coaches. He does not want to fire coaches. It's the Lions. There's no question. I don't even think we need to debate this one.
No, not even a little bit.
Okay. So this is one, I don't want this debate to go too long because this is the longest show I've done so far. But Xbox One versus PS4. First we'll go to the guy that has both systems, Taylor.
Yes. So far, out of both consoles that I've played, I like both have their their pros and cons. Mm-hmm. The big thing with Xbox One is that it only shows out in 720p, which is not that big of a deal. But if you look at the PS4 puts out in 1080p, and not to mention, as far as the online goes, PSN is 10 times better. You get better free games when it comes down to it. Mm-hmm. That's just plain and simple. Xbox Live has been on the back burner with that, but Xbox Live has some things that are better. So when it comes down to it, games, gameplay, overall hardware, I have to give it to Xbox One, truthfully, respectively, simply for the fact that I've been a Microsoft guy since the first Xbox came out.
That's why I'll bring me my next point. Let's talk to a Sony guy. Josh.
All right, so I don't know about you Xbox fans out there, but Sony gave me a free copy of BioShock Infinite today, one of the best games of the year. And it's not just that. It's not just about the free games collection. It's about, outputting every game in 1080p. It's about outputting every game in 1080p, even through online play, which Xbox is not and will not for a while be capable of doing. For me, I'm a hardcore gamer. I play video games. I'm here to play a game. I'm not here to for my Xbox to watch me sit in my underwear on my couch.
That's what I do.
I'm not here to watch TV through my game console. I'm here to play a video game when it comes down to it. And PlayStation's games are better. Their exclusives have always been better. They always will be better. You're going to talk about an Xbox exclusive that's coming out, Titanfall. Doesn't even have a single player campaign. Why do I want to play that?
That sucks.
It does suck, yeah.
But you look at it in terms of being a gamer. I think that PlayStation is the choice for you because you're going to get free games. You're going to get good free games. You're going to get the PlayStation Network, which is great. You're going to get 1080p if you care about that, which certainly I do. I just think it's all around great. And to not even talk about the just PlayStation 4 versus Xbox One, talk about the PlayStation platform. I have played both Forza 5 and Gran Turismo 6. Gran Turismo 6 is a PlayStation 3 game, and it looks better than Forza 5.
Okay. I have both. I love both. The only thing that really works against the PS4 right now is they have no exclusive titles that wow me. Killzone, it didn't draw me in. Killzone was fun. It took 40 minutes to start gameplay. But playing games on both of them, I played NBA and Madden on both of them. I saw no difference that stood out. And if you put both if you play one and the other and you see a big difference, I don't believe you. The biggest thing Xbox has right now is Dead Rising.
Dead Rising's incredible.
And Dead Rising's awesome. But ultimately, I am a PS4 guy right now, but I am not someone that's going to be like, oh, that one's shit, this one sucks. They're both good systems. If you think one is that much better than the other, I'm going to tell you something. You're the kind of person that'll make your girlfriend dress up like Princess Leia in Return of the Jedi, because you're that much of a fucking dork if you think that one's much better.
That is inappropriate.
I think both are really good consoles. So next question is, Katrina and the Waves' 1983 hit song "Walking on Sunshine" is irritating. It makes me want to track you down and kick your dicks and nipples off. In your shitty opinion, what's the most irritating song in the world? I'm going to go with anything by the bands Fun and Mumford & Sons, personally.
Honestly,
just band. What name a band or a song?
Name a band
or a song.
A song, and you're gonna hate me when I say this. It's gonna be Eddie Murphy's "Party All." My Girl Wants to Party All the Time.
All right, well, that
song fucking sucks. Are you serious?
All right, you're fired, Josh.
Fuck you.
I gotta state the obvious here. It's gotta be Justin Bieber. Every time that kid opens his mouth, shows up on my TV screen, shows up on my computer screen, I cringe.
I think it's Hillary Swank half the time. So okay, we got some different opinions. Now that the Golden Globes are over and Oscar nominations come out Thursday, who wins Best Picture, American Hustle or 12 Years a Slave? I did not see 12 Years a Slave. I did see American Hustle. I think the more universal critical acclaim has gone towards 12 Years a Slave, and it's a very liberal Oscar Academy Award panel, and it's a very liberal type movie as well. Not that there's anything wrong with that, But it's definitely going to go to 12 Years a Slave. I loved American Hustle. I'll see 12 Years a Slave at some point. It's Michael Fassbender, the black guy whose name I can't pronounce. And
Is it like that Idris guy?
no, it's not even that. It's something even blacker. And Steve McQueen's a very good director. But yeah, 12 Years a Slave should definitely win. You guys didn't see either, right?
I haven't seen either, but I hope to see American Hustle soon.
It's good. All right. Taylor, you could answer this one. Which video game console controller fits in your ass perfectly?
Fits in my ass perfectly?
It's got to be the Wii controller.
Oh, the Wii controller is perfect.
Yeah, I lost like 3 of them.
Okay, wait, are we talking like Wii or Wii U? Because the Wii U is that big fucking thing that like...
Yeah, I was talking about Wii U for you. Wii for me.
God
Wii for
damn
me.
it.
So it's obviously the Wii. It just inserts.
Yeah. Easy.
Okay, someone asked me this on Twitter personally. Which radio personalities that I want to reflect my style after? I like to think I take a lot of from Opie and Anthony, Howard Stern. I like their raw. They don't give a shit what they say. Unapologetic. As far as sports, I'm a huge Mike Francesa fan. I appreciate the fact that he doesn't like admitting when he's wrong. He'll tell you why he's right, even if he's wrong. That's me in a nutshell. So I got to say, Francesa, O&A, Stern. I'm a big fan of Steve Summers as well. He does late nights on WFAN. I appreciate his shtick and humor. So Stevie Summers too. Who's the better coach? Pete Harold from Seahawks or that Asperger's piece of shit Harbaugh?
Well, I'm gonna go Asperger's piece of shit Jim Harbaugh for the sole reason of 3 NFC title games in 3 years in the league. That one Super Bowl appearance. He lost. He lost to a team of destiny last year.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
So yeah, I think we're all gonna agree on Harbaugh.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Harbaugh, and the reason for my picking Harbaugh, it's not even a reason at all. It's actually just nonsense. The Ravens versus the 49ers. In the Super Bowl, what's the actual outcome? One pissed Harbaugh.
Yeah, it's
you really just said that.
It's true. It's got to be Harbaugh. He's got his 3 straight NFC title games. He's made Alex Smith from nothing into something. He took Kaepernick late in the draft and he makes him look like this, future superstar Hall of Fame type quarterback. Pete Carroll is the best players coach in the league. But he is not a great game manager yet. I don't know if he ever will be because this is his 3rd stint head coaching job in the NFL. He was with the Jets, he was with the Patriots, and now he's with the Seahawks. He's gotten better, but some guys, they have that feel for the game or they don't. It's not something that you see a lot of guys improve on over time. So definitely Harbaugh, but Carroll's doing a great job in Seattle. Now this one is last question, definitely one that I'm going to have to take. Johnny Hendricks against Carlos Condit in a 5-round fight. They did fight once. It was a 3-round fight, which Johnny Hendricks won. Late in that fight, it looked like Condit was starting to pick it up because Hendricks was getting tired. Knowing Condit's style and how he really just goes and goes and goes and doesn't get tired, I'd have to favor Condit in 5-round fights. He's not going to get finished by Hendricks. So I definitely would say Condit is either going to finish him late or win a decision, probably 3 rounds to 2. So that's all we got now. This was, once again, the 4th episode of, I think, what's going to be called Sports and Bullshit. It went about an hour and a half. Thank you to those who listened, which is probably about 14 of you. Thank you, Taylor, for joining me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I hope to have you back soon. Josh, thank you for joining me again.
Always a pleasure. Just have a quick closing comment that I want to make. Any WWE fans like myself out there have to be excited about what I believe is the best ending of Monday Night Raw, easily in the last couple of years from last night with Daniel Bryan on top of a steel cage, getting the crowd engaged like that. Haven't seen anything like that since Stone Cold Steve Austin.
And you're not wrong. So I don't know if we're going to get together next week because there's kind of a dead spell right before the Super Bowl. I think we'll get together Super Bowl week. Might get a couple other people in there too. But once again, thank you for listening. Questions, comments, opinions, anything, shoot them to me on Facebook, shoot them to Taylor, Josh, Twitter as well. Once again, please check out my friend Khalid's page, theprideoflondon.com, and check out Mariner blog. Appreciate it. See you guys next week.